The bloody hands of the Judeo Christian God, a legacy of sacrifice and slaughter. Christians, you sing of a God of love, a shepherd of peace, a father of mercy. But crack open your Bible, really dig into it, and a grim figure emerges, a God addicted to blood who commands death, who savors the reek of burning flesh. From the earliest pages to the shadow of the cross, your Judeo-Christian God is a deity of sacrifice, destruction, and chaos, a tyrant whose altar runs red with the lives of beasts, men, and children. The world wonders why pain, hatred, and war fester endlessly. Look no further than the monotheistic God you exalt, whose lust for blood has fueled a legacy of violence that still scars us today. The first drops, Abel, Cain, and the altar's ambiguity. It begins in Genesis 4. Abel, the shepherd, slaughters his flock's firstborn, offering their fatty, bleeding bodies to God. The Lord had respect for it because it bled. Cain, the farmer, brings fruits of the earth, bloodless and honest. God rejects it outright. So Cain turns to his brother Abel and kills him, spilling his blood on the ground. The Bible calls it murder, the first sin of its kind. But was it, or was it sacrifice? Imagine Cain, heartbroken, gazing at Abel, his beloved brother, and realizing God craved what bleeds, what's cherished. Did Cain, in twisted devotion, offer Abel to the Lord, believing this was the truest gift, the ultimate act of love to win divine favor? We'll never know the full story. The Bible's a patchwork, countless books dismissed as heresy, lost to time. What's left paints Cain as a villain, but the gaps whisper maybe he was just trying to please a God who'd already shown his taste for blood. Herds and humans, a God who loves the smell of death. The pattern hardens in Leviticus. God's not coy about his appetites. Leviticus 1:9 demands burnt offerings, whole animals, guts and all, torched until it is an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord. Fatty tissues, entrails, the stench of roasting meat, God breathes it in like incense. Exodus 29:18 doubles down. A ram's sizzling fat is a sweet savor, an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It's no fluke. Noah, post-flood, butchers beasts in Genesis 8:20-21, and God smells that sweet savor again, mollified enough to spare the earth for a moment. But livestock won't sate him forever. Numbers 31 sees Moses, by God's order, massacre Midianites, men, boys, mothers, leaving virgins as war prizes. Blood soaks the desert, a tribute to divine fury. Joshua's rampage through Canaan, Jericho, Ai, Hazor, leaves cities in ashes, every soul slain, Joshua 6:21, 8:24-25. Deuteronomy 20:13-14 makes it law, kill the men, claim the rest, all for the Lord. And the kids? Psalm 137:9 blesses those who smash Babylonian infants on rocks, a song for a God who delights in ruin. Human sacrifice, the ultimate offering. Think God draws the line at herds and foes? Think again. Genesis 22 has Abraham ready to gut Isaac, stopped only at the brink, but the intent matters. Jephthah's daughter gets no reprieve. Judges 11:30-39 shows him vowing to sacrifice whatever greets him for victory. It's his girl, and God lets it happen. She burns, a human pyre for his glory. Exodus 12:29-30 wipes out Egypt's firstborn, a mass offering to prove God's might. And the climax? Jesus on the cross. Christians call it redemption, but peel it back. It's God demanding his son's blood, a cosmic sacrifice to appease himself. John 3:16 says he gave his son. Romans 3:25 calls it a propitiation through blood, a ritual killing dressed up as love. The God of death and destruction. This isn't a side note, it's who he is. He drowns the world in Genesis 7, leaving a sea of corpses, save Noah's handful. Sodom and Gomorrah, brimstone and fire, families incinerated. Genesis 19:24-26. In 1 Samuel 15:3, he orders Saul to erase the Amalekites, men, women, babies, cattle. Mercy be damned. Even his ark kills on contact. Uzzah struck dead in 2 Samuel 6:7 for touching it. Death trails this God like a plague. He boasts in Deuteronomy 32:39, I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal, but the killing's first, always. And that smell? Leviticus 3:16 seals it. All the fat is the Lord's. He craves the crackle, the smoke, the slaughter. Your God isn't a mere creator. He's a destroyer, a death god thriving on carnage. The Old Testament's a slaughterhouse log. The New swaps sheep for Christ, but the blood keeps flowing. The world's pain, a monotheistic curse. Look at the world now. War rages from border to border. Hatred poisons hearts. Chaos reigns in streets and homes. Why? Because for centuries this God's faithful have mimicked his ways. Crusades butchered millions in his name. Inquisitors roasted dissenters to echo his fire. Colonizers raised nations, Bibles in tow, claiming his mandate. The pain's not random. It's the harvest of a God who taught that blood buys grace, that destruction signals strength, that sacrifice quells his wrath. Other beliefs have their messes, but this monotheistic colossus towers alone. A God who doesn't just allow death, but insists on it, who sniffs burning flesh and calls it sweet. Polytheists split their chaos among gods. Your God claims it all, a sole architect of ruin. The world's wars, its venom, its endless bloodshed, they're the reverberations of altars heaped with bodies, all to feed a deity who's never full. A reckoning for the faithful Christians. You'll protest, "That's not my God." But it's there in your scriptures, your past, your praises. You'll cling to love, John 13:34, love one another, but it's drowned in a flood of gore. Your God's hands drip red, his nostrils flare with death's scent, his story's a pile of bones. We Satanists, demonized as we are, don't kneel to such a killer. Our codes, COSs, do not harm little children, TSTs, compassion and empathy, spurn this bloody insanity. You blame us for the world's woes, but we're not the ones praying to a God who'd rather smell guts than mend hearts. So next time you bow your head, ask, who's the true God of chaos? The one you dread in whispers, or the one you lift up high, whose love demands a slaughterhouse? The world's agony has a source, and it's etched in the blood your gods craved from Cain to now. By Scott Young, aka Sinfamous Gamer.